to, I guess, put him on waivers and buy him out?
We just figured that he wouldn't be in our lineup next year, and it would clear up a contract, and it would give Eric a chance to, I guess, pursue his career elsewhere.
The cap space, the fact that he technically could have been like not on the cap this year, but whereas you add some space for the next two, is that a consideration?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, that's part of the equation, and I think it works out to 300 cap space, but that factored into the decision. But at the end of the day, we decided to buy him out.
Peter, can you characterize how aggressive you will be heading into this draft? Lots of trades happen in trying to address your need, maybe on the blue line in particular. Are you going to be aggressive in trying to fill that need, or if you come away with the same blue line you have, are you okay?
I'd be okay with it, Ryan, but having said that, we would look to move the pick if the right player is available, NHL player, defenseman's available. I've had some discussions with some teams, so I mean it's still ongoing, but I would look at that.
Peter, it was very hard last time you got a right shot defenseman, got Alan Larson. Is it just as hard now? I mean, it seems like that's the currency in the league. Everybody seems to want a right shot defenseman.
Yeah, just on the righty versus lefty, Jim, I mean, I know that's a hot topic, but just from an offensive perspective of the defenseman that we would be looking for, if it could be a right shot, that'd be great, but I'm not just closed in on the right shot. But they're hard to get, yeah. No, they're hard to get, and there's some in the draft too. So at 10, we think that there might be that defenseman available, and we may have to move up. We'll draft the best player available at 10, but as far as acquiring a defenseman, it is hard. They're valuable players, and especially in this NHL.
Why is that? Just because the righty-lefty thing, or is that overplayed?
Well, again, the righty-lefty, I'm not really stuck on that. As far as this type of offensive defenseman, I think there are players that can handle pucks from both sides and pass pucks from both sides. So I'm not really hung up on that. I think just the general type of player is hard to find, and I think the way that the NHL is going, that they're becoming more valuable, and that's the obstacle that we face.
With Vegas having so much success and a lot of players just getting more opportunity than they had before, do you look and say, well, hey, maybe Matt Benning just needs more of an opportunity? Obviously, he has to earn that, but what do you look at Benning as far as a right shot guy who has a pedigree of being a puck mover and somewhat of an offensive player? Could he fill that role?
That's a good point. I mean, he had a bit of a down year. We all had a bit of a down year, but he does have that side to his game. I mean, he relies a lot on hockey sense and passing and vision, and I expect to have that back in his game. So he's going to bolster our defense that way. I'm confident of that. And at the end of the day, if we don't get this defenseman, and I can't tell you, I can't handicap it. I mean, I think our D will be better, and examples, Matt Benning getting his game back in order, and some of our other D also.
Would you say it's a priority to get a defenseman in the first round, whether it's 10 or if you're able to move up a little bit? Like, are you more likely to move it if your preferable D are gone by 10?
No, it's not a priority. I mean, there are some good defensemen in the top part of the draft. We're going to draft the best player available, but if we can move to the right spot to get the right type of player, we'll look at that too.
Peter, the Torrey Krug thing in Boston has come up quite a bit this offseason. Is that a player on the blue line you'd be interested in maybe going after?
I can't comment. I can't comment on other teams' players.
Prior to the deadline, you talked about getting prospects who were closer to playing as opposed to getting picks. Does that lead to maybe some overage players in this draft being more attractive to you? Like, is that a strategy you look at to fast forward things a bit?
There's a number of overage players that are on our list. I wouldn't say they're high on our list. That's usually what happens with players that have been through the draft. Specifically, it's not a strategy, but there maybe is a little more than usual on our list.
Did Milan Lucic ask for a trade?
I'm not going to comment on that, Patty.
If Milan Lucic is back next season, where's your confidence level at that he won't have a repeat of this last year, where even he admitted it was not a great year for him?
My confidence level is pretty high. I think Milan's a high character individual. He has to have a good summer. Really, conditioning for him is not really an issue. He has to be in the right frame of mind. He's a proud guy, and we expect to have him back at a better level than he was last year.
This week has really become kind of the busy week in the NHL. I don't know if easier is the word for trades, but there's definitely been more of them and bigger ones. Do you think the draft, you've talked a lot about defense, but what about a veteran winger? Is that something you're looking at? Do you think you need to have a veteran, at least a right shot winger?
Right shot seems to be the theme here.
Or are you right winger?
If we can add a veteran winger, we'll look to add a veteran winger. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter this week. We're involved in a lot of the chatter. I've said publicly would put a pick and play, preferably for a defenseman. That, of course, has led to teams asking, would we put it in play for a forward? There's been discussions on that. So every year there's a lot of chatter. I think with the advent of the shopping week, I think maybe there are more chatter and maybe consequently more trades in this period. So we're part of the chatter, and we'll see where it goes.
How would you characterize your approach to that free agent courting period? Will you guys have some conversations, and will you be active in free agency, do you think?
We'll have some conversations. It depends. There's a few moving parts that we're going to look at, and it depends on where those moving parts go, and we'll see where it goes. But I think it's a productive period, so we'll participate in it.
To that end, yesterday Gary had said the cap is probably going to be at 80, somewhere around there. So it's going up. Some GMs have expressed that they might have liked it, maybe $2 million more. How much does what the cap is going to be? Yes, it's going up, maybe not as much as some might have liked. How much do you think that'll increase activity in the next few days?
We all kind of try and peg the cap when we do our planning week to week, month to month, until we're told what it is. And it's kind of a gradual acknowledgement of what it's going to be. So I don't think it's really any surprise to any of us being the GMs, where it's going to be. So we've kind of been planning for that. So I don't think activity will be greater or lesser because now Gary said it's going to be around this point. But I think more of it is this shopping period, and I think the GMs are becoming more accustomed to it, and as a result, you try and do some housekeeping beforehand.
Do you have like 2 or 3 different models, Pete, before you find out exactly what the money is?
Yeah, I mean you roll out certain rosters with certain cap numbers, but as I said, it's not really a surprise to us that Gary said what he said. Like, we kind of been, you can kind of figure it out on your own what it's going to be throughout the course of the year.
There was news about the goaltenders finally going to change their upper body. It's going to be a lot more form-fitted. They feel that it's going to be a significant difference. What's your thoughts on it, and how do you think that impacts your 2 goalies?
I think it's good for the game. I think I was part of that competition committee that brought that forward, and I know Kay Whitmore and the crew did a good job in getting it brought forward. It's a level playing field. So I think our goalies are both athletic, and I think they'll adapt, and I think it'll be good for the game.
Is it challenging on defense for when you're building a core to find the right balance between guys that can play offensively and sort of the responsibilities they still have defensively?
Is it a challenge? Yes.
Yeah, to find that right balance.
Yeah, sure it is. Yeah, you want to create a kind of a comprehensive collective unit that plays well together and that moves the puck well, that retrieves pucks well, and that's a challenge. You want to hope that some of the players that you draft and develop can fit into that group. Yeah, it's a challenge.
You mentioned moving up possibly. With the way this draft's laid out, with like maybe 12 deep sort of at the top, does it make it other teams more open than other years maybe to slide down a couple of picks? Like, have you got that sense?
The sense that I got is after the first group of names that there's kind of an equal group, and that's what our scouts tell us also. We're in that equal group, that kind of the next group, and the moving up and moving down is kind of positional based for needs for position based on what I get from talking to other GMs. But I think you're going to get a good player. You're going to get a good player at 8, 9, 10, and that player may have, in certain circumstances, may be taken 5, 6, 7 on one day or 8, 9, 10 the next day. So while there's been a lot of talk about moving up or down, and we've talked about it, I don't know necessarily if it'll happen.
What, Peter, you've signed 2 guys, Kajula and Benning. How are you making out with Darnell Nurse, who's presumably in your core in terms of short-term contract, long contract like Nuge and these other guys have had?
Well, what I can tell you there, Matt, I don't really want to comment on negotiations. We're trying to sign our guys, and he's in that group.
Peter, obviously, last night at the awards, you had a guy on your team win a major award, and a guy who was on your team win an individual award. And his thoughts on McDavid, and also, Hall's season, your reaction to how he was able to do that for New Jersey this year.
I thought Connor had a learning season, and having said that, he won the scoring, and I think he won the players' vote for MVP. So, I mean, I think he's learned a lot from this year, and on and off the ice as far as leading a team. But I think he had a very good year, nonetheless. I think Taylor had a very good year with New Jersey. He helped them get into the playoffs, and I'm happy for him that he won the Hart.